Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight to spending a little time with us here at Torah for the Nations YouTube channel and B'nai Noach Connection with Israel Facebook page. And those of you that's struggled to come into the Zoom room tonight, like Thomas, but I'm glad you made it. And we certainly missed everybody last week. I'm like Emuela, when we miss these weekly get-togethers, classes, / meetings. It kind of makes us feel disconnected. This is our connection at this present time, and so we're so glad you're here tonight. Now, as we prepare for doing the Tzedakah, I'm going to turn it over to Terry, but I would like to say, talked to Rabbi Pesach this week, and he's sounded wonderful, and I'm thinking that next Sunday night we will attempt to do his meeting, and so y'all be praying for them. I don't know if any of you saw Shira's videos that she's put out on each night of Sukkot. They're just I did not realize that about Sukkot and the things that she placed in those videos. And I shared them on some of the groups that I'm in, and I got some unusual, great comments over it. It was surprising. So, no, it's not surprising. When it's the truth will give you more than foundation. It give you stability. I used to say foundation, Terry. Now I say stability. So, Terry, if you'll take it away for a few minutes and welcome everybody, I will get our Tzedakah time ready.
All righty. I want to welcome everyone to our Torah for the Nations Wednesday night class. Like I said, we're glad to be back. Also, we all kind of need a break from time to time as well. And I spent some time rearranging my study. So behind me is not a green screen. It's my actual, my two shelves that's got all my study books on them. And so it's real. I can reach and grab off the shelf instead of reaching back and grabbing a green screen. So did spend some time doing a little work in my study. But I want to greet everyone here from the Torah for the Nations YouTube channel, B'nai Noach Connection with Israel Facebook page, and the.
Are you recording, Terry?
No, I am not.
Veronica brought it up.
Okay. Let me go ahead and hit that real quick while you brought that. There we go. And I want to greet everyone on Power Faith Radio that's listening to us tonight. And again, I'd like to say for everyone, or grab you an ink pen, paper tonight. Got some stuff that I'll definitely want to be giving you. I'll give you a little bit more information after our Tzedakah time, but I just want to greet everyone. Thank you for being back with us. Share our videos, share our links, and invite those to come in, like on the radio station. Share the link to the radio station. Invite others to come and listen as well. And just thank you for joining us again this week. Are we ready, Scotty?
We are ready. We're ready. We don't have a large list tonight, but we do have a list nonetheless. The only birthday, we had a couple of people's birthdays that I saw on Facebook, but they really didn't send them to me. I just looked at them. But I did have somebody who did say something on their birthday, and I want to say something about that birthday. Let me find our birthday Tzedakah. This is the one we're using for birthday Tzedakah. Tovia Singer had a birthday. I don't know if any of you know that, but Tovia Singer, Rabbi Tovia Singer had a birthday this past week. I think it was yesterday. But Rabbi Tovia Singer had a birthday. We're giving Tzedakah for him in our birthday Tzedakah can. Now we're going to go on to some others. Well, I said I was ready, Terry. I was not. I was busy listening. So, okay. So we're going to do blessings first of all tonight. Of course, we did Rabbi Tovia Singer's birthday. We're going to do blessings always, always. Emuela, you mean so much to our heart. and we're going to give tzedakah for you tonight. You just mean so much to us. Also, Thomas, you mean so much to us. We love y'all so much. We're giving tzedakah for you tonight. And Thomas is kindly roughing it. He's in a garage tonight, and that's what you see behind him. And so he's using his phone to connect with us in here tonight. Also, Veronica, we always want to remember you in this blessing time, and we love y'all and cherish y'all so much. And Wendell, we have tzedakah for you tonight. So we want to put that in there tonight, and I'm stuffing it in here. And then also Jeremy Kibbe and family. Jeremy, if you're listening, we're still giving tzedakah for the need in your family and you as well. Then we're going into healing. Veronica, we just asked her about the her test, and she hasn't got the report back on that yet. But we're giving tzedakah for that test to come back with a good report. Also, we're giving tzedakah tonight for Sally Justice. We always remember Sally. We're giving tzedakah tonight for Thomas. He's been going to a couple of doctors this week. And Sheila Schaus. Did I say that right, Thomas? Am I getting good or am I getting good? So we're going to give tzedakah for Thomas and his mother tonight. Also, we want to remember Richard Helton. He is gaining strength, and every time I see him post a picture, his daughter posts some pictures of him. He's looking better every time I see him. And Wendy Shepard contacted us just prior to the meeting tonight and said they're home. The baby's home. Caleb is home, and he's still gaining weight, which is great. And they're waiting on some reports that the doctors did. They're waiting on those, but we're going to trust tonight that those are going to be positive, great reports. And let's see, also giving tzedakah tonight for Rabbi Pesach Sherbo and Shira. I mentioned earlier about her classes. If you want to go to B'nai Noach Connection with Israel, you'll find those little short mini things she is doing, and they are so packed full of knowledge. And so we challenge you to go over there to that. We're giving tzedakah for them tonight. Also, one more is for my family. We're giving tzedakah. The Creator knows the need. We're giving tzedakah for that tonight. Tzedakah will change you. It'll change your family. It'll change your community. And then together, I know there's a lot of things going on in the world today, but together we can change the world. Terry, are you ready to go?
Maybe. Oh, good evening, everyone. As I said, you may want to grab your pens and your paper. Tonight, we're going to start into the study. We're going to go through each one of the categorical instructions that the Creator's given us as universal instructions for all of mankind. Tonight, we're going to start with idolatry. What is it? And you're going to want your paper, and we'll give you some things to write down so you can look at this. I'm going to slow things down a little bit. I don't want to give a lot of information as far as the amount at one time, because this is life-changing. They're all life-changing, but I'm particular with this one because this is the one that changed drastically in my life several years ago. And I was in the same place a lot of people were. I was associate pastor and I was congregational, wasn't the leader, but I was like a co-leader in a congregation and held home study groups for years. And this subject radically changed my life. I didn't go looking for it. It came to me and caused and challenged me. And so tonight I'm going to be bringing some things that will be challenging. Please don't get all upset. Take some notes. Things that I'm going to bring out is going to be different than what some of you have probably heard before. That's why I want you write these things down so you can ponder. Or we definitely want to try to leave enough room for some discussion and questions during these classes, because this isn't just about pouring out information. When we get into these subjects that we're getting into right now, this is about learning these to live them, not just learning them as a subject, but learning to live. One of the ancient things that the sages of Israel used to say, and they do say still today, because of what they said, it says that we learn to do. We don't learn for the sake of just learning, but we learn to do. And when we get into these subjects like idolatry, they will reshape your life and become a very dramatic impact on your life. So, as I said, we're going to be discussing tonight idolatry. What is it? A lot of people have an idea. What we're going to be learning is, what is it according to the Torah? What God gave Moses at Mount Sinai, what God gave Adam, and we're going back to the Hebrew scriptures, the Torah. This is where we're going to be gaining our information. And then there is a lot of material in the Torah. Matter of fact, the bulk of the material of Torah deals with the subject of idolatry in one way or another. I want to open up tonight with a little bit from what Rabbi Emanuel Shilkhet says as he introduces the subject. It says the concept of idolatry would appear to be an anachronism in our day and age, that it's just archaic. With no practice relevance in most countries, it recalls a primitive society of times long gone when paganism was rampant. For the rational humans to worship artificial images fashioned by their own hands is so self-evident absurd that one wonders how this could have ever happened. In reality, however, it is not so simple. For one thing, even nowadays, one can still find remnants of such practices, which we will mention. Secondly, idolatry is not limited to man-made images, but many alternatively involve natural bodies, such as celestial constellations, stars, planets, animals, vegetation, and even fellow human beings who are believed to be endowed with divinity. People, even in ancient times, developed sophisticated rationale to justify these practices. And that practice even still is going on today, creating sophisticated rationale to justify their actions. So what is idolatry? In English, we say, it's idolatry. But where does it come from in the Hebrew? In the Hebrew, the word is avodah zarah. And write this down on your pads, and I'll spell it for you. A-V-O-D-A-H, avodah. Zara, Z-A-R-A-H, avodah zarah. That is the Hebrew that is translated as idolatry in the English. So what does that mean? What does avodah zarah mean? Its literal translation is strange service. It is a strange service in the sense of being outside of the boundaries of that which is permitted. In other words, the worship of anything other than God alone is an act of idolatry. Now, that's what I wanted to bring up. Idolatry is not necessarily your belief or your faith. Yes, you can have idolatrous beliefs and idolatrous faith, but for idolatry to be avodah zarah, for what it really is, it's an action. It is something that you do. That's why it is strange service. It's not strange. If it was strange faith and Emunah, then it would be avodah Emunah, and it's not. It's avodah zarah. It's strange service. I said that wrong. It would have been Emunah Zara if it was strange faith. Because avodah is service. It's an action word. And it's what you do. And when we think of worship, and when you look at worship up in the English dictionary, it means to give honor. So I really don't like the word worship because it's misleading when you tie it. To me, for me, it's once you know the Hebrew, it misleads the English idolatry. But it's actually service. It's what you're doing with your actions. Now, like I said, it comes from an ancient period. And I've covered this before in the classes before. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the story of Enosh, the grandson of Adam, in Genesis 4:26. If you want to write that down, Genesis 4:26. And it's talking about it's when the name of God was being proclaimed and stuff. And in the Hebrew, it really means that he was being cursed. But Enosh, the grandson of Adam, the Rambam, the great Torah sage, the Rambam writes, during the times of Enosh, mankind made a great mistake. And the wise men of the generation gave thoughtless counsel. Now understand, the sage says the wise men, not the common man, but the wise man, the people who led the people were the ones who made this mistake. Enosh himself was one of those who erred. Now I'm taking this information from the writings of the Rambam, which he gets it from the oral Torah from Israel that's been passed down. Their mistakes was as followed. They said, God created the stars and the spheres in which to control the world. He placed them on high and he treated them with honor, making them servants who minister to him. These men began to see that these were divine intermediaries, that there was divine influence. So they seen them as divine intermediaries. And then they said, accordingly, it is fitting to praise and glorify them and treat them with honor. And they perceived this will be the will of God. And blessed be he, that they glorified and honored those who he glorified and honored. Just as a king desires servants, that the servants who stand before him to be honored. Indeed, doing so is an expression of the honor of the king. So we see here early on the grandson of Adam and the other wise men of that time. They were saying, well, the planets and the stars, well, they're all servants of the king, and we need to honor them. So in essence, just like the king wants his servants honored. And in essence, when you think about it, well, it doesn't really sound all that bad. It has a rightness kind of to it. You give honor to the servants of the king. And it's like, in doing so, you're honoring the king. And that's how it started out. After conceiving the notion that they began to construct temples to the stars and offer sacrifices to them. They would praise and glorify them with words and prostrate themselves before them, because by doing so, they would, according to their false conception, be fulfilling the will of God. in their minds, they had this all set up in their minds that they were honoring God, but it was actually a false idea. They were inventing a way of worshiping the Creator that He did not do. And we're going to see that again, not in this lesson, but in the next lesson, how that plays over even in with Israel. This was the essence of the worship of false gods. And this was the rationale of those who worshiped them. They would not say that there was no God except for the star. So when they first started out, they didn't denounce that there was the Creator. And then what they done was they started worshiping another thing of the Creator that had made with the Creator. It says, and this was the rationale that they would say that they would not say that there was no Creator except for the star, that there was both of them, the star and the Creator. That's how it started out. After many years had passed, after this has been set up and been going on, after many years has passed, the false prophets rose among the people, who told the people that God had commanded them, saying, see, the false prophets saying, well, God, this is what God is saying. This represents the second stage. When they began to get up and they began to say, well, this is what God is saying, in building the temples and prostrating themselves before these false images, this began the second stage of the spread of idol worship. This is where idol worship started, or idol service started. Star worship was not institutionalized, but was practiced by individuals because of their mistaken conceptions. But as they moved into this second stage, this involved the development of a religious institution and a set mode of worship. The leaders, however, still recognized God and attributed the instructions to worship the stars to Him, that God was telling them to worship the stars. In the third stage, as a latter portion of time as is going on through this, the people would worship the stars and the idols without the awareness of God. So it moved from the first stage that, this is a good idea. These are servants of God. And then it moved into the second stage, which developed a religious institution and modes of worship. Then the third stage of this is that they began to worship the idols without any awareness of God at all. God had been forgotten. The Rambam goes on and says that the prophet says, serve this star or all the stars, sacrifice to it, offer libations, build a temple for it, make an image of it so that all the people can see it, including the women, the children, and the common people, so they could come down and bow down to it. The Rambam says the idol worship was instituted by the leaders of the nations to unite the people as a particular land, giving them a sense of national identities, and established a hierarchy of leaders. So we see as idol worship began to spread across the earth, the nations began to have their own set national idols. How do we know that this was going on? We can know even it talks about this in the book of Jonah. When Jonah is brought up to the ship before it's going to be broke apart, they ask him, who was his people and who was their God? And when you read that section in the book of Jonah, you'll see that these people were praying to their own gods. It even says that they were praying to their own gods. So we can see from the time of Enosh, even this crossed over through the flood and through the time of the settlement of the land of Israel by the Israelites. The nations were still developing their own gods. The leaders were still setting up the gods for each of the nations. The people would gather together and bow down to these images. And the false prophets would say, this image is the source of benefit and harm. It was appropriate to serve it and to fear it. The priest would tell them that this service will enable you to multiply and to be successful. Do this and do that, or do not do this and do that. Subsequently, the deceivers arose and declared that the specific star or spear or angel had spoken to them and commanded them, serve me in this manner. He being the false prophets, would then relate a mode of service telling them to do this or to do that. And that is where idolatry began, at the time of Enosh. Rabbi Shokat goes on and says the principal command with regard to idolatry, we're talking about Enosh during the times of Enosh and even today, that the principal command regarding idolatry is that one should not worship any of the created beings, neither angel nor spear nor star, neither any of the four elements, nor anything formed from them. This is another one of the things I wanted to read this, but I want you to write this down on your pads. The principal command with regards to idolatry or avodah zarah is that one should not worship any of the created beings, neither angel, nor spear, nor star, neither any of the four elements, nor anything formed from them. This is very important.
You're muted, Terry.
Yeah, Terry, I'm sorry. I accidentally muted you. I apologize.
Okay. All right. As we look into what avodah zarah is an action. Idolatry is an action. And that's where we get into trouble. And most of us are ignorant. We're actually ignorant to this because it says, Rabbi Shokat goes on and says, nowadays, this appears to be a vestige of ignorance and a naivety. We're naive to it. I was naive to it. I was ignorant to what idolatry was. I was not trained and taught by my parents, nor my spiritual, when you say leaders or the ones, the head people in my life that were my pastors, my teachers growing up. I wasn't taught what this was, or nor the importance of it. It says, thus it seems strange that the eternal Torah should be so concerned about idolatry, to the point that it was found necessary to mandate so many cautions and prohibitions about its practice and practices, with all of their corollaries, and about anything that even savored of idolatry. See, this is important. Idolatry, understanding idolatry is a very important issue. And I like to just say, well, I'm just going to say Avodah Zarah, the strange service is so important because we've all have somewhere in our lives done an act of strange service, thinking that we were serving the Creator, but we weren't. See, as it said that in the times of Enosh, by the time you hit the third phase, that the women and the children, the families, this is all they knew. No, the name of the Creator had been forgotten. And so all they knew was the religious institution that they were born and raised in. They didn't know that there was anything else. And many of us are really in that same boat. Even though that is, we can think, well, that's archaic, of making an idol with your own hands and bowing down to it. We'd never do anything like that today. But we do. And we have. How do I know that? One, I've done it myself. Did I make the idol with my hands? No, someone else did. But it was a man-made object that I bowed before. How many times you go through a parking lot and you see a sticker on somebody's back glass of a soldier or a cowboy or a boy? I'm just going to say it. Bowing before a cross. That is a man-made object. That is no different than what happened in the time of Enosh. That is not honoring the God, that's dishonoring the Creator, because that is a man-made object. We're doing the exact same thing that happened eons ago. It has not evaded us. Why do we do it? Because we want something to see. We want something to feel. But yet the Creator told Moses, you saw no image. That's why they're not permitted to have any kind of images. We're not permitted to have any kind of image, whether it be an angel or a star or a servant. We're not permitted to have that. We're not permitted to have something we can see and touch, to bow down in front of. That is idolatry. It is, and when you bow down in front of something like that, that is an act, a strange service before the Creator. And I don't want to say that, to disrupt your beliefs and your faith. I know some are going to get irritated with that, but I'm going to ask you a very important question. Is your faith and your belief more important than the truth of the Creator? Are you going to worship your belief and your faith? Or are you going to worship what the Creator says? Do not have any image before me. Matter of fact, the second commandment of the 10 commandments is, not to have any other gods before me. But in the Hebrew, it literally says, do not put a foreign image on my face. Because we do not know what it looks like. We have no inkling of his image, his form. And therefore, to say anything is a representation of the Creator that is made of the four elements is idolatry. And years ago, this is what I had come to. I had been praying to, bowing down to a wrong image. And it was a slap in the face. I could not believe my life. I had thought I was worshiping the Creator, but I wasn't. I was worshiping a man-made image. And the Creator says, no, you don't worship any man-made image. That was the mistake of the time of Enosh, or a spear. It became man-made images when they took and they made images of the stars, and they made temples of the stars, and they would come and prostrate themselves before them. But this is what idolatry is. That was the title of this class, idolatry. What is it? It is strange service. It is service to the Creator that He Himself has not ordained. So this begs the question that we will continue on in later classes. If idolatry is strange service, then what is the proper service? You don't hear that asked very often. What is the proper service to serve the Creator? And that's what we're going to be getting into as we go on, as we start learning the details of what idolatry is and isn't, and what we should be doing in the opposite of idolatry. So write that question down. If idolatry is strange service, then what is the proper service? We want to examine that in the future. Scotty, how we doing?
Doing good. I've got a couple of things I want to bring up, Terry, to discuss, if that's okay. One of them, is that okay if I drop in some things right here?
Oh, no, this is what I want to do. I don't want to just be bringing a lot of information and closing the class. We need to learn through discussion and questions. This is how we learn.
Well, one of the things I want to drop in the pot here is a thing called social conditioning. Just like you said, we're conditioned from our parents, the people. Let's say even though you are not religious, you are still conditioned by society to believe certain things. And it just seems like it's the way of the land. I don't want to say the law of the land. I want to say the way of the land. And sometimes that is harder to break than actual doctrines of different theologies, because I can leave my house right now and drive within 1 mile and pass at least 10 different sanctuaries, churches, and each one has somewhat of a different doctrinal belief. But it's the social conditioning that is handed down from generation to generation. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to come against. I remember, or to break, I don't want to say to break. I remember a few years back I taught a class, and, I'm big on proper hermeneutics. But in this class, the subject came up of moving lines. Now, what we were talking about was, okay, this is what you were taught, and since you begin to study on your own, this is what you found out. So you moved your line somewhat. So my question to the class was, how far are you willing to move your line? The majority of them said, I'm not going to move it past such and such position. And of course, my next question was, well, what if that's the position you have to get over? What if that's the social conditioning that is holding you back? Religion, actually, the word religion means to hold in, to put into some type of boundaries, if I can say it that way. And but that's the biggest thing to break, social conditioning. If I can go on, can I go on just a minute more, Terry?
Yeah, go on.
There's two things that will break social conditioning. You can, number one, you can even present the truth in the text to someone who is rooted in social conditioning, and it will make them upset. They put up a defensive, even though your heart was in the right place. And so the first thing I want to talk about that breaks that is when they come against the challenge to where once you present it, and I've met people like this, I have talked to people like this, they were presented with the position of the text, they denied it, but when they started going back to their doctrine and going through the motions of their doctrine, it was too late. That thing was implanted, the truth was implanted, and it started talking to them. This is the great thing about the truth. It started talking to them as they were going through their strange service. The next number two big one, how hungry are you? How passionate are you for the truth? Are you satisfied with where you're at? Do you desire a closer walk with the Creator? So that's I just want to throw them couple of points in there, Terry. You want to talk about those?
The social conditioning. I mean, it's interesting. We were reading one of the commentaries on Exodus 20 the other day, where it talks about the father, that God visits the sins on the children and what it really means. And it's not that he's putting any sins on anyone, but I loved how Rabbi Hirsch brought it out. It says that the child is born, he's born pure. He's born 100% pure. But while he's still in the cradle, the sins of the parents line that cradle, line that life, the practices. That child has a mountain to climb to come to the moral truth of the Creator. And therefore, the sins of the fathers are passed on to the children, because the children are raised in that social norm that you were talking about. And then there's other like social norms. There are those that, let's say, aren't religious but they hear certain things from those that are religious. They take it as that it's the truth. An example, you can hear atheists, and I don't really like this term, because once you understand what it is, you'll see that it's really a bad term. You'll see flat out atheists and people who do not believe in the Creator use the term, well, that was a good Samaritan. People don't even know what a good Samaritan is. If they really understood the subject, it's really an evil subject. But yet you have those people who will say certain things like that, not just that, but other things that has nothing to do with it. They're unlearned, but they're just practicing and saying what they've heard, not what they know. Go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, I want to put a challenge out right here on that. You brought in about, the children. Those of you that are listening, before we go any further, I want to put a challenge on you tonight. And I want you to remember, what you tell your children today will be their inner voice tomorrow. So if you're always, I'm getting all kinds of calls here right when I'm on. So, what you tell them today will be their inner voice. If you're constantly telling your children, you're no good, you're never going to amount to anything, why aren't you like your brother, why aren't you like your sister, that's going to be their inner voice tomorrow. But if you deposit things in your children like, you know what, I am so proud of you. There are children that we are around oftentimes, and I will just stop and look at them and I will say, you are so smart. I am so proud of you. My boss's wife was babysitting this little girl. She's about 6 years old, just fixing to start school. And she fell in that timeline where she couldn't start. And so my boss's wife, her name is Tina Lyons. We've given tzedakah for her many times. And she was playing with the little girl, and little girl was putting together puzzles, and she already knows her numbers and already knows her ABCs because she has some brothers and sisters that are older than her. And she couldn't wait till I come in for work the next morning. She got there before I did at their house. She couldn't wait for me to come in. She said, "Look, Scotty, look what I did." And I said, "I am so proud of you." And she grabbed me and hugged me and said, "I love you." Now that, and so I got to talking to her mother about it, and I found out that her mother is actually her aunt, and her husband and her daddy and mother died of overdose. She had a hard life to live. And so, and this lady that I was talking to, I said, she is so smart. She said, "That's what I tell all my children. You are so smart. you're going to go far. I am so proud of you. And you know, that will go a long way. Even though people are in social conditioning, that'll go a long way for children to begin to think for themselves and to realize the truth about things and to step out of that. So, okay, Terry, I'm going to see what somebody's telling me about some tzedakah here. So I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm going to continue on with the Avodah Zarah. I know I dropped a lot in your lap. Hope you took some notes. If you need me to repeat anything, drop Scotty a note or on the chat so he can ask me, and I'll be glad to repeat any of these things I've asked you to write down. But Avodah Zarah, a strange worship, is not restricted to religious service of anything. It includes any assumption of there being a self-contained being or forces that are not totally dependent on God and his providence. And I love this example that the rabbi brings out. He says, if you can picture driving in a nail with a hammer, the immediate event of activity seems to be the hammer. In truth, however, it is not the hammer itself, but the hand that holds it and the energy that is used by the hand. And so too, anything in the universe is forever altogether a subject of God's will and his providence. Everything. The reason why we do not worship spiritual beings like the angels is because they are just tools. They are like the hammer in the hand of the Creator. They have no self-will of their own. The hammer cannot just get up off the table and say, I'm going to drive a nail. It can only do that which the hand guides it to do, which many times hits my thumb. I think we've all experienced that. It didn't have a will on its own to do that, but sometimes the will of the hand gets misdirected when it comes to the human being. But everything that is created, we are not to worship anything created, be it spiritual or be it physical. Everything is created except for the Creator himself. If it's wood, if it's stone, if it's flesh, or if it's the trees, the grass, the planets, the stars, the clouds, sun, moon, none of that is to be served. All of them are objects of the Creator to do the work that he created them to do. Scotty, got anything there?
So say that the way you said it again. What was you asking a question in that?
I said I just want to know if you had a comment on that. We were just talking about how that everything that is created, spiritual or physical, is not to be served or worshiped via either an intermediary or as honoring the king, honoring God. No, we are to worship and to serve only the one being, the Creator.
You know, as you were bringing up how the strange service, how that started, being in a ministry field for 45 years now plus, I have seen the world change. I have seen to where you brought up the cross, and I'm bold. I'm going to say it. Frank looks like he's itching to say something about this part, but anyway, I see people now worshiping that, even to go through that to get to their particular form of deity, to get to the Creator. So it's just pulling us farther and farther away from the Creator. but that's what went through my mind as you were talking about that, uh, because So can I ask you a couple questions?
You can go ahead.
What about making angels? Can we have angels in our sanctuaries?
No.
That's another biggie. That's part of that conditioning, but that's something that has to be. Okay, go ahead. I can get off on that social conditioning again. But go ahead, Terry.
I just want to let everyone know, I'm not one of those that's just sitting here pointing a finger. I've been where you've at. I've knelt in the altar before these objects in my past. I was in ignorance. I did not know. I did not know that this was strange service. But once I learned, let me just say this. It's a very hard thing. Once you come within yourself and you know in your knower that this is not the thing that the Creator wants you to do. And as much as you want to walk away from it, it's a very hard thing to do. One, it's part of your life. Two, it's a part of everyone around you's life. Because, it can be a hard walk. And it takes some time to grow in understanding that the Creator does not want us to serve, worship, bow down to, praise, pray to anything but Him and Him alone. And that's it. But once you come to that point, it's the most freeing thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
It's the most freeing thing to know that anytime you go to open your eyes and open your mouth toward the Creator, there is nothing between you and Him. You don't have to go through anyone else. He doesn't want you to go through. He's your Father. He's your Creator.
Is there anything in the text that explains that to the position that this is what was presented by the elders, if I can say elders, the teachers, the overseers, that, okay, the way you can get to the Creator is to go through this. It's an easier way to get to the Creator.
Well, just hold on a second.
Okay. I threw you off in the run there.
I'm going to answer your question by answering it this way. I'm going to tell you what is there. You don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me, because to me, it answers it so much better. Matter of fact, we've actually already covered this a little bit ago. Hold on, I'm there at it. I just got to find the spot. Right here. Psalms 145, 18. Psalms 145, 18. Near is the Eternal to all who call upon Him, to all who call upon Him in truth. You can go back and watch one of our videos we did on that passage. He's near to everyone who calls. It doesn't mean you don't call on someone else to go to Him. You don't have to ask the operator to connect me with so-and-so. No, He's near to all. But he says, but King David goes on and says, and to all of those who call upon Him in truth. And part of that truth is learning and understanding that there is no intermediary, that there is no spear, there's no statute, there's nothing that's between you and the Creator. He says He's near to all who call upon Him. You don't have to go through anything to get to the Creator, except for one thing. You got to go through yourself. You've got to get yourself to understand that you do not need anything to talk to the Creator. All you have to do is call out.
I really like where you're going to take this next week, because it will give us that. It will give us that direction. Correct?
Well, it just depends. I'm taking it slow, and I want us to digest this information as we go. I just don't want to just go through, like, we have been having some classes, but I really want to just slow things down, take this a little bit at a time, because you might, between now and I hope between now and the next day or so, somebody's going to contact you, Scotty, with some questions, and you're going to contact me. And that's what next week's class might be about. And that's what I want it to be about. I want it to be about those who are like, oh, I need to know more about this. We can spend more time right here on this, and I can, if you need me to.
Okay, good deal.
Am I okay with that?
I think that's great.
And that's where I want to be. I just don't want to walk off and leave someone hanging that may really have some questions they need help with.
Right.
Now I'm not talking about questions to debate. I'm talking about, help me understand this or this, and we will do that.
Sounds good.
I mean, I'm going to make my plans, but my plans can be changed based on the needs of those that needs the class.
Yeah. All right. Good deal. Well, are we bringing it to a close, Terry? Anybody else got a question they want to ask?
Yeah. Any questions, Scotty, from the radio station or from the YouTube channel? Anybody?
I know getting a lot of mind blowing emojis going on here, but that's about it.
Like I said, please do not take this all personal. I had to bring these things out because this is what it says. We are not to worship anything that's made of the four elements.
Well, Terry, there is something I would like you to cover. Whoever wants to get involved in this part of the conversation, because Amuela said something very important right here, and I think there is a line distinction that needs to be made in this. You see her chat. This is hard for me to hear. That I'm good and I do crafts. So you want to discuss that, Terry?
And well, are you talking about like just making crafts in general that may be, let's say, an animal? Is that what you're saying?
No, I sew my own clothes.
Okay.
And clothes for my teddy bears.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I know that. Well, when Scotty was talking about that little girl, giving him a big hug for saying that he was doing good, that he was proud of her.
Right.
Growing up, I never heard that. I never heard my relatives say they were proud of me.
That's hard because
that's why I said it's hard for me to hear it.
Yeah, it's hard because I have myself in my own situations. It's hard when those that you need affirmation from the most gives none. You know,
a lot of times they get the opposite.
Right. Or they tear you down instead of build you up.
Yeah.
Right.
And the people that I'm around now that surround me are like a family to me. They're all praising me for the things I can do. And I get break out crying. And it just breaks my heart.
Go ahead, Scotty.
I want to tell a story. I'm full of these stories. I want to tell you a story, Amuel. You get ready. Back, I'm going to say it was 30 years ago, maybe even 35. We had this family that was going with us where we was going, and I was in the revival mode, and there was this boy that was coming, and everybody, this is the term they gave him, okay? They didn't say mentally challenged. They didn't say physically challenged. In front of him, they used the term mentally retarded. And I could tell by looking at him that this hurt him. One night we was setting up our equipment. Now I had a big, humongous equipment, piano, guitar, recording equipment, everything. And I had all of it come to this big soundboard. And he asked me, in his way, I was able to understand him, can you show me how to do this? So he stood beside me and I explained what I was doing as I was going through it. The next night, I set out the board. That was the first thing I always set out. And I seen him plugging stuff in. And somebody said, you better go stop him. He's going to mess that up. I said, it's not on. He ain't going to mess nothing up. Leave him alone. I want to tell you something. He put every cord in the right plug. Something that the people who said he was mentally retarded couldn't do. From then on, I was lifting him up. His name was Gene, and I was lifting him up. Now, he's passed away now. They told him he could never get a job. One of the local establishments I went to for home, for building supplies and things, I said, hey, you need somebody to work around here? I got a young man. He is so smart. And they said, what can he do? I said, well, he's not real technical, but he can clean this place. Your place is filthy. That's what I told him. I said, he can clean it. So they said, send him down here. So the owner called me. Now he used the word mentally challenged. He said, he's mentally challenged. I said, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what, you work him. If it don't work out, I'll pay him. 1 week later, he called me and he said, I want to tell you something. That's the best employee I got. He shows up before time. He leaves after time he leave. He's always cleaning up, wiping down. And this week, I'm going to have him stocking shelves. When I saw him about 2 months later, he was running the cash register and running credit cards. Now, I just want to throw that in. So, I love you, Emma. Well, go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't too emotional for people to hear.
No. I mean, we need to hear these things. We need to hear. These are, I guess it's a major jump ahead, but we're talking about the universal, eternal instructions of the Creator for all mankind. We started out with idolatry, strange service. When we get to murder, we've actually touched on that, really. We have. And I know y'all are sitting there, what? How have we touched on murder? This is the beauty of the eternal instructions of the Creator. They all overlap. You see in Genesis chapter 9, where it says, man shall not shed blood of man. And if you do, man shall shed his blood. For man was created in the image of God. When you read that in Genesis chapter 9, you will find that the reason that the Creator says not to murder is because of the image of the Creator that's in each person. And when you lift someone up, like what we're talking about here, you're lifting up the image of the Creator in that person. When you tear down another person, you tear down the image of the Creator in that person. And who wants to tear down the Creator? Let's go back to idolatry. That would be strange service. Can we see how awesome? These are not burdensome. These are amazing. To know that we could improperly worship the Creator and how we treat one another. So it's not that we necessarily jumped ahead, but every one of these 7 categories, they overlap into each other. The same thing with theft. forbidden sexual relations, eating meat taken from a living animal, setting up courts of justice, blasphemy. Every one of these overlap into each one. I could take Avodah Zarah and I could tie it into every one of those. The strange worship of the Creator. So we'll leave it with that. Just think, the next time how you treat someone is how you treat the Creator, and therefore that can be a form of strange service.
Wow. I like him. All right, are we going to bring it to a close on that?
I'm just going to leave it with that, guys, because y'all actually led that there, and it was actually a better way to end it than I had in mind, because I can actually begin the next one where I ended this one. But then again, like I said, if anybody has any questions and wants to discuss this issue even further, let us know, and I'll be glad to go with it.
All right. Well, I want to say, Karen, we're good. It's good to see you. I know you got here a little late, but it's good to see you. And James just come in. It's good. Oh, James just left. So it's it's good to see James. Karen, I want to drop you a little ear note, if that's okay. I want to call you sometime tomorrow afternoon. I got something to discuss with you, if that's all right.
Am I in trouble?
No, ma'am. I think it's going to be a great thing. Let me go ahead and drop. Can I take a minute here, Terry?
Take a minute. You go ahead.
Karen is probably one of the most knowledgeable people I have ever met on herbs and nature and things. And Karen, I had this epiphany yesterday, and I should have called you yesterday. I think you need to do little bitty videos, and you can put on them. I'm not a doctor. You know how they put the little disclaimer on there, but you are very knowledgeable on those things, and that is very needed. That's a part of connecting to the Creator.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to get a hold of you and talk to you about that tomorrow afternoon. Is that okay?
It should be.
Okay. I'll text you tomorrow sometime and let you know what time, and we'll get together and discuss it. And
okay.
And if you don't want to do it, that's good too. But I just think that knowledge is so great. That knowledge is so great.
I know there's a lot of it there I want to learn.
Yeah.
I'm a dummy when it comes to that. You know, I know what sage is when it looks like, you know, on the little shaker thing on the counter. That's about it.
So, all right, everybody. Well, I guess we're going to come to a close tonight. We so much appreciate everybody coming, even those that came in late. Thank you, Amuela, for posting all of the. Amuela's got her heart up. Thank you so much for posting those texts when Terry would go to text, posting those up in the groups and here on the Zoom. And remember, every name that was mentioned in the Tzedakah time, we've dedicated this class, this meeting, in their honor to them. And I want to say we so appreciate. Now, listen, if you're watching this on Torah for the Nations YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up to the video, share the video on your social media platforms, and also on the B'nai Noach Connection with Israel. If you're watching the video there, you can share it to different social media platforms as well. One of the things that I do when I see videos, I'm going to Shira, Rabbi Pesach's wife, Shira Sherbo. How do we address her again, Terry?
She's Rebbitzin.
Rebbitzin, okay. What I do is I go to her YouTube and I copy that where it's found, and then I go to my social media places and I share it. And that way it will direct people to their YouTube channel to get more information about what they do. So, all right, everybody, until next time.
Later.
We love y'all.
Love y'all too.
Good night.
Later. Bye-bye.